Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, this is the Ramble, and that's me in red. It's Alex, and we'll be here until midnight tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, that there is Lori Thompson.
Hello.
This is the second time we've had to do this today because I had my microphone all the way over there.
Think of that as
it would have been a lousy opening. But Lori Thompson, of course, as you know, was my aide de camp in the radio show in San Francisco, and it was one of those kind of things that wherever I would go, people would go, "Where's Lori?"
Oh,
like,
well, that's
they thought we
nice.
traveled together everywhere.
Yeah, we did. In fact, I've been having dreams, and the dreams I have with you involved, we're nearly always traveling. We're doing the radio show, but we're always traveling, and we're always getting into like little kerfuffles with people where we got to do some fast talking to get our way out.
Yeah. But the reason why we're always traveling in your dreams is that in real life, I don't think we ever really saw much of each other outside
Not really.
of the
We
show.
go to lunch. Yeah, go to lunch. once in a
Occasionally
while.
there'd be a lunch or something, but I mean, basically, you spend 4 hours with somebody. And usually a little more than that because of some prep. Some prep and some after show stuff. But you spend maybe 4 or 5 hours a day with somebody. Why in the world would you hang out with them after that?
Exactly. I mean, it was always pleasant when we did, but our schedules were different too, because we both were big proponents of naps, I remember.
Yeah.
And then I would go home, have my nap, and then I would go walking around because I was the proverbial kid in a candy store in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Come from this tiny town, in the Midwest, and then just have this wonderful cosmopolitan city. I would walk all over the town every day.
Yeah.
And
But
I
I would then go home, get my nap.
And then a parade of chicks would arrive at your door.
Yeah. Well, sometime I would meet somebody at the show that I took back.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. That was a rare occasion, but I did. And then I missed my nap.
I know, and that could throw you off.
And by the way, you see what happens is when you go on in the morning, you got to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
Something ridiculous, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You've got to really be awake at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning or 6:07, as I like to put it.
I can always tell, but depending on the intro you're using, you had Professor Longhair was one, and then you had a jazz one, I think by Lee Rathenauer or something, and then you just had various opens, and I could tell by how long the intro played.
Well, after the news, we could go to a song.
That's true.
And so I would call on my car phone, and I would say, "I'm almost there, play a song."
Inagata Devita.
I mean, people ask me, how early did you get there to prepare for the show? And I go, what? Did that show ever sound prepared?
I'll speak. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I like to I like to wake up, but I do wake up really quickly. I mean, 0 to 60 and 60
Really?
to
You were
0.
that good? People always used to say to me at the station, the honchos at the station, your first hour sucks. And I said, one reason is I'm not awake.
Yeah.
And
and that's something I've always awakened real fast, because my mom was she cracked the whip. If she came home and we weren't doing anything, I mean, act busy, because she would give us something to do.
Oh, really?
And that's why. And we had several ways to learn she was coming. We could hear her on the front porch, and then we could hear her in this little foyer we had. Then we could hear her in the hall, And then we knew that she was coming into where we were in the family room or kitchen, and we better have something to do.
Well, you know something, I've met your parents on a couple of occasions.
You did,
And,
yeah.
and they were wonderful people. You
Well,
know?
that's nice.
Yeah,
They were wonderful people, but they were my parents.
No,
Not all.
that's what I always said. People said, "Oh, your mother." What'd you think of my mother, for instance?
I loved her.
See,
of
you
course.
loved her, right?
She was charming. She was just a doll.
The
Yeah.
woman was the biggest pain in the ass in my life.
Well,
Yeah,
and
you know,
I
and
think
people would say exactly what you said, and I'd have to say, "Yeah, but she isn't your mother."
Yeah. And the thing is, when we're growing up, it's hard to not see them as parents if we would learn earlier on that they were going through their same struggles. I mean, they're, at 40. And, we just saw them as our parents, and it's like, whoa, you're falling down on the job. And yet, if we'd seen them just as people going through their own hills and valleys and life decisions, it would have been a much more easy flow.
My mother, was I'll tell you what the relationship was of her to me.
Yeah. And you're an only child. Yeah.
I'm an only child, so to begin with, I was smothered,
Yeah.
just
full
absolutely
force.
smothered. Yeah, who wants to be smothered? Nobody wants to
Did
be
you-
smothered.
Well, did you get everything you wanted though?
Pretty much, yeah, yeah. I mean, when it was Christmas time or it was my birthday, I got all the toys. All right.
Yes.
And when they
Yes.
wore out, they gave them away to charity because there was no
Nobody-
brother or sister to get them, or there were no clothes for me to hand down because when I grew
Right.
out of them, they threw them out. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and Marjorie always goes to me, "You are an only child," and I went, "Yeah." And your point is,
yeah.
are you jealous that I was an only child?
Because I was the oldest child, and I really am fascinated by the birth order and how it plays into people's lives and courses of life.
Well,
and
you were
decisions.
where in the birth in the?
I was the oldest.
You were the oldest.
And you're the one they experiment with. So
Yeah, you're
my
the biggest. You're the big experiment.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And my parents, when I look back at some of the privileges they gave me, I'm amazed. But I was a good kid. I didn't really abuse those privileges. I mean, I skipped school and I occasionally, but I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I didn't, have sex randomly. I didn't have sex at all till I was 21.
I was 19.
Yeah, we're late bloomers.
Yeah.
And I wanted to.
Did you catch
respect.
up? By the way, did you catch up?
It depends. It's all relative.
Did you catch up? I'm asking you because I certainly did.
You did, yeah, but I don't think I really did. I mean, I might have had liaisons, but I didn't have relationships.
Back to the birth order. So
Okay.
now you're the oldest, so you kind of help raise the other ones.
You do, exactly. And it really came into full flower when my mom got into real estate. I was in 9th grade. I had a little sister who was two little sisters, but one was 4 years younger than me. So we were in slightly different places.
Mhm.
I knew a little more. I was a little more worldly. I was a teenager. But I didn't know the answers to some of these questions she would ask me that she would normally ask mom and dad. But my dad traveled with his job. He was a railroad engineer. And sometimes they would do long turnarounds to St. Louis or wherever.
Mhm.
And then my mom just worked constantly. And so Amy, my sister, would come to me with these questions like, what are blowjobs? Are blowjobs? I mean, and I didn't know because I'd never experienced it myself. Now, I had gathered some intel.
My answer to that would be, well, you don't exactly blow on them.
Right. How it got that
And
name.
and quite frankly, a job is something that's a task. This isn't a task.
Yeah, not for you.
So both those terms really shouldn't be used
and together.
in what is basically sucking a dick. Okay, let's put it that
Right.
way.
Call it what it is, in other words.
Yeah.
But you would ask me these questions, and I wouldn't know. I would give her my best answer, but it was the answer of a 14-year-old who. And
Now,
to
how
a
many
10-year-old.
years ahead? How many years behind was she? from you.
She's 4 years younger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And,
not a lot
so-
today. Not a lot in these days, like at your age, but back then,
It was a
if you're 14 and she's 10, there's an entirely different frame of reference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she was a very smart, sharp, intuitive 10-year-old. She's always been her whole life. But still, you're 14, people that are having sex. Your friends are having sex, some of them. And at 10, I don't think they were. So I would try to boil down, give her the Reader's Digest of my experience with a moral spin, of course, and because I wanted her to be okay. But it was a responsibility that weighed rather heavily on me.
Now, did she have her first sexual encounter younger than you?
No, she was maybe, no, she did. She was younger than I was.
Yeah. I mean, when she did it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think it came in high school or college.
Oh, yeah. Really? In high school?
Yeah. But she was still an earlier bloomer than I, but I kind of blew the stats away. I was really a late bloomer.
Well, I was a late bloomer because, first of all, you had to find somebody to have sex with.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest problem,
And most of them were in witness relocation at the time.
And when it finally happened for me, it was in the back seat of my 1939 Pontiac Torpedo.
Whoa, Torpedo.
Yeah.
Probably electric car.
Parked in the woods right off of what is now the Marin County Civic Center.
Ooh.
And I did it, but I didn't know whether I actually found it. So I had her come back and meet me at my home in San Anselmo the next Monday. My parents were both at work, and so we consummated it there. And that's where, I said, okay, this is maybe more like it should be, instead of thinking, I think I hit a crease,
Yeah. Well, that was good that you gave it a second try to make sure.
That's correct.
I'd gone with the same guy, and we were raised in the Pentecostal church. We couldn't even go to movies and dances for a long time.
Were your parents that strict about it? Because they didn't seem like parents that were strict.
My mother was strict, but my dad, thank goodness for him, he was a voracious reader of like everything from the classics, from the Greek philosophers to Twain. He loved Twain. He loved Chesterton. He loved Thoreau. And so he balanced out her zealotry. I think she was a zealot.
Yeah.
And but she walked the walk and talked the talk.
Now, did you go to Pentecostal church?
I went to a Baptist church.
You didn't go to a Pentecostal.
I went to Pentecostal church. I went to a Baptist school, rather, for one semester.
Okay, but Pentecostal church, what goes on there? I mean, they speak tongues and everything, don't they?
They do, but every Pentecostal congregation has its own personality. That's a big emphasis. And, I hate to say this, but looking at it as I did, it seemed to be in the poorer churches that the theatrics were more pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
In the more educated congregations, that's not as prevalent. But you have speaking in tongues, which means that you are blessed by the Holy Spirit and speak in something that would resemble gibberish.
There was actually a term for it, but I can't remember what it was, galaglia or something like that. There was.
Yeah.
I don't know what the term is, but I do remember there was a term associated with speaking in tongues. That was the language you were speaking.
Yeah, and it's based on Jesus descending in the form of a dove on the day of Pentecost, and there were a lot of people who were believers, so they were spiritually all of one mind, but they couldn't talk to each other, and so the Spirit descended like a dove, and they were all able to speak in a heavenly language. And I think symbolically, but it seems literal, it's a way of committing yourself, because you are the person.
Did they do any of this healing crap?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. I've never seen much in person, but I've seen long haul healing, which is where someone is prayed for over months and their recovery seems to seems to exceed the normal expectations. And then my cousin was diagnosed with leukemia, and his teenage parents drove all night to an Oral Roberts meeting. And by the time they left that meeting, his fingernails were starting to harden, and he was showing immediate signs of recovery. So, and that's something
he recovered from being healed.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's now a chiropractor, quite hale and hearty.
So the question was, did he really have leukemia?
Well, he was diagnosed.
But diagnosed is one thing. Did he really have leukemia?
See, but with that begs the question, and for a lot of people, it's not for skeptics, or at least it can be for skeptics who are ordinarily skeptic about most things, but for some reason they'll feel the touch of the Holy Spirit, and it will break through that skepticism in a way that is so personal and unique.
Yeah.
That it changes their life.
Was this childhood leukemia?
That's what I mean. It was childhood leukemia.
Childhood leukemia sometimes corrects itself later on.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, yeah. I see. I mean, the thing about healing that always bothered me was, of course, the fact that some people who were really sick didn't seek the proper guidance they should have sought out, which were good doctors.
Were never, in my era of Pentecost, doctors were encouraged. Yeah. I mean, you could pray for healing, but go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And so, but and the thing is, faith is just a unique animal. I mean, it's just a very unique animal, because I think it was probably more the faith of those two teenage parents who thought their child was going to die within 6 months. He was given 6 months. And they drove all night. And I think it was much more their faith that was the lesson of that.
Yeah, but sometimes these healing things, they felt they got healed by the church, and they didn't get healed, and then they die because they didn't go to doctors.
Well, and the healings or
I would hate to be a doctor who had told somebody your kid has leukemia, and then they took him to one of these faith healers, and then they didn't go back to the doctor because their kid was healed.
That would be bad news. Yeah. And like Sam Kinison, since then, I think that there were a sincere, genuine.
He was a kid preacher.
Right. And he was inspired by Oral Roberts, and on a more grassroots level by these fire and brimstone preachers.
Oh, I had Sam once. I said, give me a little sermon here, and he went into it, and it was exactly what you hear on television from these guys screaming and yelling and, screaming to the Lord. The thing is, what's interesting, are there, maybe you can tell me more in Florida than I can here in New York, but to my knowledge, there aren't, outside of Joel Osteen, who's another phony,
He's okay.
Well, yeah, but he's a phony. They're all phonies. They're all grabbing money from people based on a myth. Okay.
Well, see, ego. Yes, ego enters into it, and then these people become these icons of spiritual.
But outside of him, there aren't very many of those preachers on TV anymore. At least
it's now taken. It's the form. It's New Age spiritualism, which like Marianne Williamson, and that is replaced. It's softer edged.
I when I was looking into the Iowa caucuses this year, they said a major component in Iowa were the evangelicals.
That is true.
And my question is, who exactly are the evangelicals? I mean, do you get a membership card? I mean, how do you know you're an evangelical?
Letter sweater with an E. Still have mine. But
this is why I love her,
But you're right. And the evangelicals, I think that became a softer word, because it was kind of embarrassing in college to say I was raised Pentecostal or I was raised Assembly of God.
Oh, so evangelical's a better term.
Yeah. Well, and you know who I love Jim and Tammy. I'll always
Oh,
love.
oh God, I love them. Oh,
Don't you?
did I love them?
Because they made it okay for Pentecostals to have some bucks because they did. There was a show
I
of
thought those two people were so screwed.
I loved them,
But they were so screwed. They said we're building a theme park, a religious theme park.
Six Flags
Send
Over
me your
Jesus.
money. And normally, if any of these guys said that, what they got were a couple of Ferris wheels, and that was it.
Yeah.
They built an actual theme park. I mean,
Yeah, and if they had taken care to connect with the SEC on what was required, but they were selling unsecured timeshares. They were doing that, and that was their
And the other problem was they weren't checking out their people. Money would come in literally in bills, and there would be a counting room like you have in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Where they were counting all the money, but people were then stuffing their pockets with the money. And Jim and Tammy, meanwhile, didn't want any part of that. They had other important things to do with their ministry. And I felt that they got here's the really bad deal they got. Do I have enough time to explain this? Jerry Falwell always had to go to Jim and Tammy because what they did in the early days is they got themselves a transponder on a satellite.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to send their shows out by satellite. So if like Falwell wanted to do it, they had to come to Jim Baker and buy time on his transponder.
Yeah, and it galled him.
And they galled him. They wanted the transponder. He and Jimmy Swaggart and a couple of others all got together and figured out, how do we get this guy? How do we get his transponders?
Mm-hmm.
And so what they do is they created this whole situation that got them in trouble. And what happened was Falwell went to Baker and said, I know you're in real trouble now. Sign over the transponders to me. And I will take care of them until you get all this taken care of, and then I'll give it back to you.
Yeah.
He never gave it back. This was his way of literally stealing it.
Yeah, it was. It was a gentleman's agreement. I wouldn't get into any kind of gentleman's agreement with Jerry Falwell.
Yeah.
He's the last thing.
But that's what really screwed them. These guys were jealous and wanted those transponders because they had a full network going. They had the regular show they did, and then they had the Tammy's Breakfast or something, show, and then they had some puppet shows, and of course they were puppeteers early on for I think Jerry Falwell.
Yeah, I've heard
with
Robert's.
with Susie Moppet, I think was the name of the doll, which you gave me a Susie Moppet doll. And if you pull the string in her neck, she says, Jesus loves you. He really, really does. And it's Tammy Faye's voice. I still have it in storage somewhere.
Yeah, and and she was. I think Jim and Tammy, they split philosophies, and she became committed to their cause, which she did love people, man. She just really.
Well, I mean, they were entertainers, is what I'm saying. This was their big thing when they were with Falwell. They did a puppet show. They were entertainers. And first and foremost, I loved watching that show.
Especially when you were stoned.
Well, the best part was this kid they had that had no arms and no legs.
No. Not Kevin.
Kevin. In the amusement park, they created Kevin's house.
Everything was low.
And everybody could go see Kevin and his friends, like the one-armed girl, the kid with two heads or whatever. And it was like, come see our biblical freak show.
Exactly.
It was amazing.
Yeah, because the elements of fascination to human beings don't change a whole lot. I mean, you can change the setting, which was, a Pentecost Jesus setting, but those elements of entertainment are going to be good in the Jesus setting, going to be good in Vegas.
Yeah. But I mean, they were real entertainers, and I loved them. You know that. I used to go home and watch them every day. I had a girlfriend, who had a satellite dish, and we just sit there as they would send down all the programs for the week. to the stations and watch them end on end, over the weekend.
Yeah, I remember you. I was thinking about all your girlfriends, your harem over the years.
Yeah.
And you had some really cool girlfriends, ones, that it would be fun to keep in touch with. Like do you remember at the Atlanta Olympics, old girlfriend of yours who was with somebody else? We went to dinner with her and her nobo at a restaurant in Buckhead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. She was, and she was a gem. I liked, in fact,
she was.
Her name back. Yeah.
Hey, listen, we've run out of time for this little segment of Lori and Alex, which is better than Jim and Tammy, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
Anyway, see you next week.
All righty.
Ladies and gentlemen, that there is Lori Thompson. Bye, Lori.
Bye-bye.
Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Yeah, I can't say enough about Lori. It hasn't already been said about Lori. So she's great to have here. I can't seem to get my facial color correct. See, if I turn this off, what happens? Well, it doesn't change that much, does it? Huh? No. If I do this, there we go. How do you like that? Does that look natural? Does that look fairly natural? I guess it does. I'm not sure. But anyway, we're doing fine. Anyway, hello, everybody. How are you? I hope you had a nice weekend. Did we? I don't know. I don't think we did, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, wait, what is this? There's somebody here that I don't trust. It says Anders. Is that somebody I should know? Well, first of all, let me admit the people I do know. Here comes Charlie Wallace, and here comes Alan. Let me see here. Do any of us know a person, somebody named Anders? Anders, if you're somebody else that I should know, change to the way your name is here, and I'll let you on. Oh, wait a minute. I know what I can do. I can keep my face on the screen, and we'll just let Anders in and see if it's somebody we know, okay? And if it isn't, we'll just get rid of them, okay? Let's see here. Here comes Anders. All right. Oh, and there. You got to move your head into the frame. Or are you going to move your head into the frame? Are you? It looks like it's a woman, actually. No? And there we lost them. Oh, well. I tried. Okay, well, let's go to our panel here, who's here so far. Charlie Wallace, a good new week to you, although I saw you on Monday.
Yep.
And hello to...
freezing cold.
What is it in Texas right now? What's the temperature?
Oh, it warmed up. Actually got above freezing for the first time since Sunday at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because right now here in New York, it's... it's 21 degrees. Yeah, 37. Now. Okay. Yeah, it was 22 when I woke up this morning, which was about 10 o'clock in the morning, and by noon it had peaked at 24. So, nothing much happening with that. How's the weather out in California, Alan?
I'm doing good, thanks. It's 53 degrees and clear.
53 degrees and clear, a heat wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people are freezing all over the country. Jeez almighty, they're really. In fact, here's something that's interesting, and maybe Brian's going to call tonight. I should wait for him, because people in this country, a lot of them bought those Teslas, which sounds like a good idea, right? Electric cars.
Yeah.
Okay, they're running on a renewable energy. They're not using up much of the atmosphere or whatever. They aren't polluting the air, that's for damn sure. And that's a wonderful idea, right? Well, there's something about batteries that we hadn't taken into account. When it gets this goddamn cold, they don't hold a charge. As a matter of fact, they say that in this weather, the efficiency of an electric battery, and for a car, goes down something like 61% or something like some phenomenal amount.
Wow.
And then when you go to the place to charge them, there's a long wait for the chargers because it takes longer to charge them in cold weather. Now, this is something they never talked about before.
It's the first time I'm hearing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So they're having, but I'm right, Charlie, right? That batteries do not work at optimum proficiency at 20 degrees and below.
Well, regular batteries don't, but they drive cars, regular gasoline-powered cars up in Fairbanks, Alaska at 50 below zero. So, I mean, batteries are working somehow.
Well, maybe they're not. Are they? Do they have many Teslas up there, for instance?
No, I'm just saying a regular gas-powered car has a battery.
Oh, it has a battery. Yes, yes.
And that battery seems to work
Right,
even in 50
but it's
below
not.
zero.
It's not, and I will add this to the discussion: a lithium-ion battery like the ones that are in cars.
Don't work well in the cold. Yeah.
Yeah, it's lithium-ion. So, anyway, we can laugh at all those people who bought electric automobiles. Okay.
You're stranded out there in the cold weather. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a guy. He had been waiting in line, and then he charged it, and it took him like double the time it normally took to charge it. And then when he charged it, he only got up to about 41% efficiency. And then the last thing was they took a shot of him talking to his wife in the car and saying, "I think I'm going back to gas." Do you know about this, Kevin?
Yeah, that's the same with the heat too. It degrades them in the heat as well.
Oh,
Well, that's mostly lead acid batteries.
Yeah.
The lithium ions, I don't think they're affected as badly, but
No, they
do
say
get
that
affected.
they
do get affected.
That the
yeah.
Tesla batteries in these temperatures, especially below 20 degrees, which is not uncommon right now,
Yeah.
Right.
it presents a real problem. So,
Right.
you know.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So how you doing?
Especially, Arizona, I know the batteries don't last for beans. And AAA, when we went to pick up my father-in-law's car when he passed away, his battery had been sitting in the car for, I don't know, probably 6 months, and it was trashed. And the guy from AAA just came and said, I'm not even going to try and work this out.
Yeah.
We'll just give you a warranty battery, put a new one in.
Yeah, yeah,
Because they just don't last but 2 or 3 years. They're supposed to be 5-year batteries.
yeah. Well,
But again, those are lead acid and AGM batteries.
but for all you people who have gas, you can look at those Teslas and kind of laugh. I mean, as you zoom down the road past them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
A lot of
They'll
the
figure out-
batteries, a lot of the regular batteries in gas vehicles are lithium ion too now. They're starting to make lithium batteries for those, and the sealed gel type batteries. And so it doesn't make much difference.
yeah.
Why not just build a heater that is charged by the batteries and keep the batteries at a certain temperature always?
You can buy a little blanket that goes around it.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
a blanket or something that heats.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to be offered by Tesla any day now. Well, the thing with Tesla is our good friend Elon Musk, who keeps changing his mind every other day, once said, I will never use hydrogen in my cars.
Yeah.
Guess what he's putting out now? He's putting out a hydrogen version of the Tesla.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's one on display in downtown Fremont.
hydrogen's going to be the way it goes, I think, because that's a better. I think that's a better solution.
Now, how expensive is hydrogen to use? I know it's basically water, right?
Well, it turns it in. It vaporizes the water. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very expensive because it takes a lot of energy to split the hydrogen off from the oxygen.
That's right.
But it
There
can
are
be
some
done.
hydrogen cars. There are a couple gas stations in Fremont that
Yeah,
sell
we used
hydrogen.
we filled them and we used to build them where I worked, and there's a bunch of them in L.A. area. We
Well,
had a whole bunch of them. There was a co-op with Toyota and Honda, I believe, that we
Yep.
did with those two companies that I even did an experimental run when I was working there back in 2012, I think, when they were first coming out. And we did a run from, I think it was San Francisco down to Long Beach. And I had to take what we called 6-packs. There are 6 cylinders tied together and with a manifold.
Yeah.
And I took about 12, not 12, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, about 8 6-packs and put them on the back of a truck. And I sat down on Highway 1 and waited for them to come along. And we gave them a boost there and shot them down the freeway.
Supposedly, and correct me if I'm wrong, the original Teslas, really the battery was just a series of what we would call the batteries we use in electronics now, all tied together.
Well, yeah, that's essentially what
They
they
still
are.
are.
They still are?
Pretty much what they are. If you tore them apart, that's probably what they
Well,
are.
can't you make just one big battery that does it? I mean, why do you have to have? Why do you have to glue together a bunch of Everettis? You know.
I don't know. Maybe it's the way that they get recycled or whatever when they're done. I don't know.
And plus, they're lithium-ion batteries. These things explode.
Exactly.
And are Teslas exploding?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, but the
Getting a wreck.
fire department in the Bay Area were trained by Tesla. Some of the first ones on how to, a car gets in an accident. And apparently water puts out the fire. And
I didn't think
Water
so.
puts out most fires, doesn't it?
Right. And
But-
fire trucks carry a lot of water. They were concerned that they needed to use foam or some kind of chemical and not put the firefighters at risk because of the high voltage. But apparently they trained the firefighters here in the Bay Area. There's a Tesla plant about 3 or 4 years ago, and they just spray water on them.
Well, here's the guy who.
But was it the water putting out the
Oh,
car
not
parts,
Tesla
or was it
expert.
water putting out the battery? That's
I don't know.
that's the issue, because the battery explodes, and I think you would need foam or something.
Here's Brian Neary. He says he's not.
How's
a
Trump doing? Hey, how about them Cowboys? Oh man, sorry, Charlie.
yeah,
There
sure.
he is.
The
There he
Cowboys
is.
lost this weekend, didn't they?
They
Cowboys.
they described the difference between the Cowboys and the Eagles. The Cowboys fell out. Sorry, the Eagles fell off their bicycle, but the Eagles fell off the cliff.
The Cowboys fell off the cliff.
Okay, I'm just trying to change the subject so we don't talk about Teslas for now.
well, no, but it is a problem, isn't it, with Teslas, with the electricity, the batteries getting less efficient as it gets colder?
I have no idea. It gets.
Well,
like
you own
40
a
degrees
goddamn
here.
Tesla, for crying out
I'm in
loud.
California.
We don't have those
Where
temperatures
he
here.
is.
Yeah.
I'm in California. I'm not where Charlie is.
Hey, listen,
Whoa, sorry. We aren't where Charlie is.
Listen,
We're in
the way,
California.
the way things are going with global warming, eventually you're going to be down in the teens, okay? I remember when I was growing up, I don't think I ever remember it getting colder than about 30 degrees in Marin County.
Yeah, 32 degrees here, 34 degrees here, and everyone's posting pictures of that degree thingy on their car.
Yeah, and we didn't get snow. What we got was frost.
Yeah.
You know.
64 it snowed, remember?
I remember once it snowed out at Stinson Beach.
Yeah, it snowed in Burlingame in 1964. I remember that.
Yeah, and
63 or 64.
And I was thrilled because as a kid who grew up in California, the only time I had ever seen snow was when my parents took me up during the winter to Tahoe.
Yep.
But we weren't in Tahoe most winters. We were there during the summer. But we went to a place to have dinner called the Christmas Tree, which is on the Mount Rose Road up to the top of Mount Rose. And there's a place called the Christmas Tree. It's a great restaurant when I was a kid. And you ordered a steak, and I mean, those were the days when you ordered a steak and it was like this, you know? And delicious dinners and everything. And they had pictures on the wall of all the big snowfalls, you know, roads being cut off and the like 90 feet high snow drifts and things like that. But that's the most I ever saw of snow until I actually moved to places where there was snow. And I kind of I was thrilled by the first snowstorms that hit, you know. I came to New York, there were snowstorms, and I went, wonderful, I'm looking out the window. I don't have to go out there. But if I want to go out there, boy, I can make snowballs up and fight with people and, have a really good time.
I hear that Christmas tree restaurant and now sells a steak that's 96 ounces. If you can eat the whole thing, they give you a Tesla.
No.
Bullshit.
Bull.
Well,
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing it back to Teslas.
oh yeah, no problem.
Well, he kind of worked it into steaks, okay? So you have to admit there was some attempt to keep going with the same trend that we were talking about. But so you don't know a thing about Teslas then?
I know they charge and you drive them.
We
Not
don't,
about the cold, just not about the cold stuff.
Do you
I
think?
actually
Let me
don't-
just ask you this: as a guy who is a big car guy, what do you have? You have like a I don't know, Maserati. What is that thing you own?
Yeah, exactly.
McLaren.
A what?
It's a 1934 Cadillac.
oh, you're thinking of the McLaren.
The McLaren.
Brian knows. And that's an English Maserati, is what it
So
is.
if you're on my Instagram, you'd see a funny reel I had. I had my McLaren, then my friend was backing up his McLaren, and the guy who does the voiceover says, "And you're telling me that there's some people that think they're driving a Tesla to save the world or something like that."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's the deal.
No, I think Teslas are hybrids. Electric or hybrids are great for commuting. I'd love to have one to go back and forth to Lodi.
Yeah, but you probably take a hybrid to a Tesla, right?
Yeah, Teslas are good.
Because I take a hybrid because I would be constantly
Oh.
looking at the battery meter to see how low it's getting and getting angst because it's getting lower and lower. And will I be able to get home or should I charge it now? And I don't want to go through that.
If you
Yeah,
get
but like when you take it, like if I were to take it from here to Lodi and back, I come home and I plug it in and done, and then the next morning it's ready to go.
But I like the idea of the hybrid where as you go, you're charging the electric.
right,
And then you go to the electric when you have enough power and you use that until it goes too low and then it switches back to the gas. I think that's the best possible idea.
Yep.
More than
Yeah, and I think Vernon Nunn or Jeff, they have a hybrid. Maybe it's Jeff.
I got
But
one.
they have a hybrid.
Jeff has one.
They really, really
Has
like
a
it.
Prius.
I got the Prius.
Oh, you get the Prius?
Oh, you have a Prius? Oh.
No, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I know. I know what you're gonna say.
Oh man.
It's my
all
daughter's.
I say is when I'm driving to Lodi and I'm going up Altamont Pass, there's always some Prius in like the fast
In the
lane
left
trying to go
lane.
up that.
Yeah,
I'm like
they go in
ready
the
to push
left
that
lane
guy.
and they're sitting there going 60 miles an hour trying to save gas. Get out of the way.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Europe is very good though. Europe is very good. When you're in the fast lane, you're in the fast lane.
Oh, God, are you in the fast lane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they have a law, right? That you cannot pass to the right of people.
Well, that's the same here.
No, the
People
law
don't know it.
The law over there is a speed limit. There are speed limits on the road. But if you get in the passing lane, which is the one furthest to the left, okay, you can go as fast as you want as long as you're passing people. So people just they're just passing
The
everybody.
Autobahn.
And
Yeah.
I would get in that lane, and sometimes I would have to move over because these people they were crazy. They were crazy nuts on those roads over there. Worst of all, in Germany,
Yep.
because they have the Autobahns over there, and
Yep.
there's no speed limit. Just go as fast as you can get away with it, and if somebody is coming up behind you and they want to pass you, you move over into the other lane.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah, I had to rented a BMW and drove through Italy, and
oh, they're
yeah,
nuts too.
I'm cruising the fast lane, man. Some Mercedes just flying up on me, man. You get out of the way quick.
Yeah, but I had cars passing me at over 100 miles an hour.
Sure.
You know,
Why not?
well, you can go as fast as you want to in that lane as long as you're passing somebody.
Yeah, and then you drive a couple miles and you pull over in Italy and you get a little espresso and then you're back to 100 miles an hour.
But every now and then, tell me if this isn't true. In Italy, you will pass a certain part of the road where there's a memorial.
Mm.
Kind of like California.
No. When people die in a car crash,
Yeah.
they set up a little memorial for them right where they had the crash.
Yep.
Yeah, they
They're
do
all
that
over
here
here
a lot.
now.
Yeah.
They're out
Yeah,
here
they're
all
Really?
Yeah.
They do it in California for highway patrol officers that are killed in line of duty in a certain stretch of freeway. They name that stretch.
Well,
of
they
freeway.
name the stretch after them. But what I'm talking about is the what do you call it?
Yeah,
The
they build
the
a cross.
candles,
They put candles and flowers and everything.
Oh, I
yeah,
see.
yeah. Big like memorials that have the glass enclosed.
Oh, I've seen them with the LED lights and everything. There's one right on 101 there.
Oh, really?
It's got LED lights and the whole bit.
There's a lot.
Gee, I'm
I
surprised.
went down the street and I asked the kids what happened, if they knew. And there was a palm tree and it was all black all the way up. And then they started setting a memorial up there. And yeah, some kids stole a car, and then there's and they ran down the it's probably like 35 miles an hour down here. We went flying down there and they hit the palm tree and then burst up into flames. But there's a memorial because, poor kids that were going 90 miles an hour and acting stupid.
In a stolen car, yeah. Poor kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Well, all I know is that driving in Europe was I had to get used to it. It was terrorized. You get terrified for about the first couple of hours until you just get with the program and realize if somebody's coming up right on your tail, you just move over into the other lane, let the guy go by. And they'll flash their lights at you, by the way. That's part of the deal. They got to flash their lights at you, and they flash their lights at you, and you get over in the other, and they're going like 120 miles an hour. So
I drive my Prius like that.
Yeah.
Downhill.
Hey,
in the breeze.
I run that thing. I run that thing at 80 miles an hour, no problem.
I worked in Sweden for a week, and then I went down to Italy. So I flew into Milan, and it was just the sun was just setting, coming in, and I got my rental car. And I was supposed to go to the lake there, and I had a hotel there. And I went down got the car, and I went to the toll gate. Because there you have to pay for. You go on the freeway and you take a ticket wherever you come off. You paid.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Right.
And somehow I got in there when the thing was up, and I cruised through, and I didn't know. And then I went when I needed to exit. And I go there, and the guy is speaking Italian to me. I don't know what the hell he's saying. He's asking me for the ticket.
You didn't take the ticket out of the machine?
No, so I didn't know what was going on. And I just give him a bunch of money, and he just took
what they do.
Probably took stupid American took a couple extra.
What they do is they charge you for the furthest point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From that turnoff, because they don't know where you got on.
Yeah. So I don't know what they did, but yeah, they
the
just
toll roads in Pennsylvania and stuff like that.
Well,
they got the toll roads.
But it used to be when they built the original toll roads here, the idea behind them was you could go as fast as you wanted to. There was no speed limit. Well, a few accidents later, they decided to put in speed limits. But the idea was no speed limit because you were paying to use the road. Now you're just paying to use the road.
Yep, all the taxes in California, you're paying to use the road.
Yeah,
but you go to Italy, and those freeways are clean, spotless.
Oh yeah, just like
you go. Then you spend a week there, and then I came back here and freaking mattresses on 101 and 680 and stupid. I'm like, oh my god, this place sucks.
All the tire treads from the big rigs that have been recapped sitting on the freeway. Yep.
All Kevin's buddies.
They call them gators.
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 Yeah.
The speed limit in West Texas is 85 miles an hour. So you see people doing 100 miles an hour all the time out in West Texas.
90 if you have a Tesla.
100 if you have a gun rack.
Yeah, really. Everybody's got a gun rack. Even the Tesla's got a gun rack.
120 if you have no sense at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you could never get me to travel that fast. I mean, I just, and I own, like I had a Nissan 300Z. How powerful were those? They're pretty. It was pretty damn powerful.
I had 110 in my Malibu.
I had a Mazda RX-7, which I love that. I love the engine.
I was in Arizona back last month. I rented a car and they gave away my car, so they gave me a 23 Dodge Charger with a 345 in it.
Wow.
Oh yeah. All of a sudden we drove down to Tucson from Phoenix, and all of a sudden I'm looking down and I go to my wife, I go, "Hey, we're doing 100 miles an hour." I didn't even know it.
I had that happen in Europe. because you
I
forget
said,
about
let's
how
see what 120 feels like.
you feel no, but
It was pretty smooth.
You're driving down the highway. People are going fast, and you're going 100 miles an hour, and you don't even know it until I looked down at the speedometer and I went, "Shit, look, a
You're
guy."
in the desert, and those people don't care out there. It's like wide open, and they're just balls to the walls out there too.
Well, also there's straight roads.
Yeah,
You know.
straight.
The cool thing is when you're doing 100 or 120 and you get in an accident, you run into a tree or you're in a Prius and you hit a semi or something. They have to get out there and pick you up with a stick and a spoon.
That's not good. But
Not good.
it was really funny, not funny really, but I'd be buzzing along at 85, 90 miles an hour, and all of a sudden the cops sit right in the middle of the highway.
Oh,
And they sit there with their guns,
yeah.
And I'm going, oh shit.
I'll tell you,
I went by one at 85 miles an hour, and he never came for me.
in Europe, the thing that drove me.
I'm going to get a ticket.
In Europe, the thing that drove
looking at
me.
my mirror, nothing.
Yeah, in Europe, the thing that drove me nuts was I would in Italy hit roads that had suddenly they built them going along the shore or something. I can't figure out how it was, but you would go and here's a tunnel, and you go through the tunnel, and you come out the other end of the tunnel, and you go sunlight. The next thing you know, you're in another tunnel, and then you get out of that tunnel and then sunlight, and there's another tunnel, and another tunnel, and another tunnel. After a while, you're going loopy, from going from daylight to darkness, from daylight to darkness. And I don't know why they built those that way. I mean, couldn't they have built the road just slightly to the right, and not had to have all those tunnels?
That way they didn't have to move the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Right through it.
either that or just, one place I went, where was it? It was a thing called Mont Blanc, I think, in Italy, France. It's like between the two. And there's the Mont Blanc tunnel. That thing goes forever. And for a guy like me who's got claustrophobia, that was driving me nuts, man. And I'm just driving, and there's and you know how you always look, you can always see the end of the tunnel,
Yeah.
So you're driving toward, there is no end of the tunnel till there is an end of the tunnel. And this
And
thing,
you're
I
so
think
relieved when you get there, aren't you?
hold on a second. Echo, how long is the Mont Blanc tunnel?
The Mont Blanc Tunnel is 7.3 miles long. It is located in Regione Autonoma Valle d'Aosta.
It says 7.3 miles long. I could have sworn it was longer than that.
That's pretty long, though.
That's a
Phil.
long
Pretty
time.
long.
Yeah.
That's like the San Mateo Bridge.
I was just going to say the San Mateo Bridge is about that.
Yeah. But I mean, I remember the Mont Blanc tunnel. That was and driving in a lot of different parts of Europe is just a real adventure. A real adventure. And
if you were doing the speed limit instead of 25 miles an hour under the speed limit, you might have got through the tunnel quicker.
Well, I think, was there a speed limit in the tunnel? I think there was, and there were, in the tunnel, there were like these turnoffs and stuff where if you had to stop, you could stop.
Wow.
And then there were places where you couldn't stop. It was really something, something. And the thing I used to always used to drive me crazy was driving from Lake Tahoe back down to Sacramento. And the only way you could go faster, because it was one lane until there was a passing lane. Now, I imagine it's more now. But until there was a passing lane, and you had to wait for the passing lanes before you could really speed up and get in front of a whole bunch of people if they went over to the passing lane. So I remember that. That's why I called my audio biography "Life in the Passing Lane."
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, that's where I got it from. I was just, but I mean, driving that, and every so many miles was there a passing lane? Maybe 2, 3, something like that.
Yeah. Then you get stuck behind the Prius.
And I kept saying, why don't they just build 2-lane roads here? If they can build a passing lane,
But you know what? That we just did that drive. We did that to South Lake. Then we went up. We spent the night. Then we went up Squaw Valley, then up to Reno, and then came down 80.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those roads now are very, very nice. They just finished the whole repaving of everything last couple of years. And those are nice, smooth.
But you know
big
what I
roads.
miss? What I
Really
miss?
nice.
Donner Summit. Okay.
Oh yeah.
When I was a kid, Donner Summit, you would drive up to the top of Donner Summit. You could actually park the car and go out and sit on these big boulders that were up there.
Yes.
And
yes.
look up at the stars. You'd be out there at midnight looking up at the stars, and it was wonderful. All of a sudden, I go back to California once, and that road has disappeared.
Oh, really?
They just did a fast road getting out of there. And if you want to get to that part, I think you have to turn off the road and whatever.
you
And
gotta get off.
I don't know where you do it or anything like that. But it was so nice. I used to like take girlfriends up to Lake Tahoe, you know.
A vista, isn't that what it's called? Where you pull off?
And we'd lay on the rocks and just look up
Yeah.
at the stars. And man, it was romantic.
The Donner Party might have been there on those rocks.
Yeah, that's what. You
Well-
eat each other up there.
Years ago, Bobby Slayton got married. And when he got married, he decided to do it. He was working at Lake Tahoe. He was working at what is it? The one on the South Shore. Not Harrah's, the other thing.
They're all up there.
No,
Which one?
Anyway.
Nugget?
No.
Nugget?
No. The big hotel. Big, beautiful hotel up there. I can't remember anything anymore.
Bunch of them up there, yeah.
But anyway, out beside it, they had a field. And he decided he wanted to get married out in that field. And it was winter. And he hired a sled, a big, huge sled that could hold like 20 people or whatever, to get out there. And then it was being taken around the field in the snow. And it was wonderful, except for one thing. Everybody was freezing to death. In fact, the guy, running the horses, whatever you call that, the guy running the horses, I noticed his mustache was getting frozen. Okay, that's how cold it was. And we're out there freezing our asses off. I think I even took a photograph of everybody sitting around all huddled up like this, you know. And I referred to it after that point as the Donner wedding party. Because it was so cold. I mean, it was ridiculous how cold it was. And
Honey, could you hand me a hand over there to put the ring on? Mine's
yeah.
frozen.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Break it off.
Well, the funny part was, her name was what was it? There was oh God, I can't remember anything these days. But it was a very male name. What was it? It was
Bobby?
No, it wasn't Bobby. And it was oh God,
Bobby and Alex. Those are two girl and guy names.
No, but
Bobby.
anyway, it was her name
Alex.
sounded like a guy's name, and he said, "Which one is this one, and which one is that
Oh,
one?"
that's funny.
You know, I'll remember the name soon, but you know, how
Wasn't
dare me?
Sam.
Huh?
Samantha?
What?
Sam for Samantha?
No. This was actually a real kind of male name, you know, that sometimes goes both ways, you know.
The girl's named Charlie.
And there are guys women named Alex.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yes.
He must. Tony must have another Charlie in his book, because every time he must. When we chat, he always spells Charlie like Charlie, CHRLEY.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because he can't. That's the only way he knows how to spell
Sorry,
it.
CHRLEY. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, I'll remember the name before the show's over, I'm sure. But you know,
Adrian?
No, Adrian's a female's name.
No, Adrian is the guy's name too.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, it's
But
an Italian.
but
or
I think
French.
it's how's your daughter's name spelled?
Do you want to see? I just got a tattoo today.
Did you really?
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah, he's permanent.
But it's so okay. So
He loves that kid.
I don't
so
have
my
my
mom my mom passed away when I was 13, and she had this writing. You know, it was just like sort of. My friend, who's a tattoo guy, he has a tattoo shop, and he says she was left-handed, huh? And my mom, and I said, I don't know. I don't even know if she was left-handed. He goes, no. How she wrote her name, she has her letters are angled, so it's a left-handed. Yep. And I said, wow. He goes, are you left-handed? I said, no, but my daughter, Adrienne, she's left-handed also.
Yeah, but now how is her name spelled?
Right there.
Okay, Adrienne. So
I'll spare you my nipple. How's that?
Technically, it's Adrienne, right?
Yeah, it's still fresh, so it still has
it's
Adrienne.
Right, that's Adrienne. But the male name is Adrian. A-D.
Then it's like Brian. A-D. Yeah, R-I-A-N.
Yeah. So.
And one of my best friends' name is Adrian as a guy. And so when I said her name was Adrian, everyone thought that I was naming after my best friend. But no.
I got to look this up because I can't remember her name, and I'll probably remember it even before. Okay, there's a picture of Bobby Slayton.
And it was Bobby Gentry.
Okay, I just got it. I just got it here. Her name was Teddy.
I remember you talking about Bobby and Teddy. Yeah.
And the guy who was marrying them said, Bobby, Teddy, which one's Bobby and which one's Teddy? And we all had a good laugh on that one, you know. But, 68 years old. God, his wife is dead now since when? That was a strange one, man. That really was. 2016. Yeah.
God, was it that long ago?
Yeah. 2016. But, you know, I always felt really bad about that one because, you know, it was horrible. And he has a girlfriend. He's had a girlfriend for quite a while. And her husband had died about the same time. And they found each other within about a year of each of those deaths. And they've had a wonderful relationship ever since. Terrific. Really terrific. But anyway, Bobby, Teddy, which one's Bobby? Which one's Teddy? That's it. It's bothering me I can't remember stuff anymore. How many of you are losing your memory?
Oh, a long time ago.
Really? Yeah. In other words, things like that, you find it hard to remember, even though it was something that just came right. It came to you. Wow.
So where is Tiffany's name tattooed to you?
Yeah.
Who are you talking to?
Brian.
That's bad luck.
So I heard the Teslas are having problems in the cold.
Wait a minute, is this a joke I don't get here about Tiffany?
No, he's got his daughter's name tattooed, but he doesn't have her mother's name tattooed.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's what I asked. Where's the mother's name's tattoo at?
By the way, did you show it to Adrian?
Oh, Adrian was there when I got it done.
Oh, really?
Oh, boy, yeah. Somebody's really giving her a big head.
Boy, this is getting kinky.
She kept telling me to put my shirt on and cover my nipples. How am I going to keep my shirt on? How's he going to do the tattoo?
I didn't put tape over him.
He was upset that her nipple. No, I won't say
Bob,
please, no jokes.
Slayton has tattoos, some fairly significant tattoos, but one of the ones he did have was Natasha, which was his daughter's name. You know, a lot of parents have a tendency to do that. You know, the reason you do that especially is because it's something you're never going to regret.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you may someday come to regret that. What is it, a Cadillac logo you have on your arm?
No, I won't. But I always said the reason why I never got tattoos before because I probably would have had Van Halen across my chest.
Yeah, right. Right. I've never gotten a tattoo. I actually have 4 tattoos. They were the dots they put on me for the radiation. And they make these little tattoos, and I haven't looked recently to see them, but they're still there, and I will always have them. And I told them when they did it, I said, "Well, I guess I could never be buried in a Jewish cemetery," and they said, "Well, we've talked to rabbis about this, and because it's for your health, it's okay." So,
there's another tattoo that you can have.
Adrian, she has such a great sense of humor. She says, when you get older, we're going to put a tattoo. If lost, please return, and then have my phone number on there.
Did Adrian say that?
Yeah.
Just
Wow,
get a barcode.
she is
Get
funny.
a barcode like the cats do, you know.
Yeah, get a barcode. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do a barcode or one of those. Be a little better. Get one of those square things with all the ziggy zag stuffs inside of them.
Or get
QR
one of those
code, yeah.
things like they
Yeah.
inject into
QR
an
code.
animal, they can scan you.
Yeah.
Last year, I'm glad I never got that Dallas Cowboy tattoo.
The guy got Super Bowl champs at the beginning of the season.
Oh, so I got to show you something, guys.
That's happened.
I got to
That has
show you
happened.
something.
Yeah, the Cowboy guy, there's that one.
You ready for this?
Alex has got a new tooth.
Oh, he got your tooth.
Yeah. There's my $5,000 tooth.
Yeah. I was just going to say, would he have a 5-year payment plan on it?
Well, no, I'm paying for the whole damn thing. We have insurance and stuff, you know, but I'm paying for the whole damn thing. But because I if it were all the way in the back, I'd say hell with it, you know, waste of time. But there, it's kind of it's cosmetic, you know. And I know I'm probably not going to live long enough to get my money's worth out of it, but you know, these things.
What is living long enough in your money's worth? It was worthwhile getting to you. And if you live 5 years with it, that's great. And if you live another 20 years, that's great.
There were two reasons I got it. Number one, cosmetically. So, you know, I don't want to look like I'm voting for Trump, okay? And the other reason was that it was in a place where when I was eating, food would get stuck up in it, you know, or go up in it and irritate it and so on. And I just wanted to have a tooth there. But if it were all the way in the back, I would have done nothing about it. You know,
you could have the name Tesla engraved across it.
Right, exactly. And then here's what happens. I go in yesterday to, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was Tuesday. I went in yesterday to get the tooth installed. I guess that's what you call it, you know.
Yeah, sure.
And he does the whole thing, and, you know, and he grinds it down so that it's just right and all of that, and it puts it in there. I asked him if it was glued in, and it's not glued in. It's screwed in.
Yeah.
But how do they screw it in? Do they turn the whole tooth or something, or?
They didn't spin you around?
I don't know, but it's supposedly he screwed it in. And when he got finished with that,
something's
what?
No.
He didn't screw the tooth in.
The post is screwed in.
Yeah, we went through this.
The post is screwed in, but the tooth is then hooked onto that because it's like a post. Like when you put in a phony tooth, you know, they drive in a post, and then the post, then they go out and they get the, you know, the what do you call it?
They screw it in, and there's a post at the other end. There's a screw at one end, a post at the other. They screw it in.
Well, the thing is, the implant is what the tooth supposedly screws onto. I mean, the implant screws into the jaw, okay?
Okay.
And then when you get the tooth is then the tooth is then adhered to the post, which is part of the implant.
Kind of like a crown.
Yeah, like a crown, but they don't use glue.
Huh.
I went, what?
Maybe pressure, just the
You
pressure.
know,
Is there a doctor watching this? Please call.
Every time I go to the dentist, it's a new way of doing things. The first time I ever got this a tooth implant, it took them 6 months to do it. Okay, the whole process took about 6 months.
That's a lot of screwing.
Now it took just a little over 3 months. You know, a little over 2 months. So I mean, it's incredible. And what they did, and I think I mentioned this last week, you know how they normally take a mold of your teeth, of your
impression.
Yeah, they put it in that gooey stuff, and then you sit there for half an hour until it sets, and then they take it out, and then they make a phony set of teeth and send it out so they can then figure out how big to make the fake tooth. They don't do that anymore. I had this assistant of his go into my mouth with this probe and just scan every tooth in my mouth. And when she was through, I said, "What were you doing?" She says, "Well, look." And on the screen was a 3-dimensional impression of my mouth, of my teeth. And that's what they send off to the place to do the mold. I mean, it's amazing. It's just amazing. It's all changed, you know. So I enjoyed that. That was fun. Listen, I guess we haven't talked about politics tonight.
Nope.
Something we're all probably terribly sick of already, you know. But how about that blowout election for Trump, huh? In Iowa, man. Oh,
So surprising. So surprising.
yeah. Everybody who has run and gotten won the Iowa caucus
Yeah.
in the last 3 times, I think, has not wound up going to the nomination.
The nominee.
Really?
You know, you had Cruz and you had Huckabee, and there's one other, I can't remember who now. And you know, it's no big deal, and everybody, he's getting on the way now. He's getting there. You know, it's not anywhere. I mean, nothing. You don't know what's going to happen along the line. So, what happens? What happened to Trump? He was out of the running last time, rather in 2016. When he until he got to where? To South Carolina. And they won South Carolina, and that gave him the momentum. Well, I don't know what's going to happen in South Carolina this time, because who's from South Carolina?
Nikki
Haley.
Nick Haley.
Yeah,
Nick
so I
Haley.
mean, I don't know what's going to happen, you know, but
Hopefully she wins and he doesn't. Hopefully she wins
yeah.
the nomination and he doesn't.
Well, I could, you know, if we're all, I guess, liberals here, pretty much, except for Brian, who's a raging conservative. But how many of you could live with Nikki Haley as president?
Not me.
Well, you couldn't. Well, you're a hardliner that way. I mean, let's face it. If I'm
the most qualified,
huh?
I think she's the most qualified.
Probably the most qualified. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable with her because I don't like her politics, but at least she seems to be an honest human being, which is something that would be refreshing for a Republican.
Or a politician.
Yeah, the last 3 Iowa caucus winners. Yeah, so they said they have a checkered past. So Ted Cruz was last time, 2016. 2012 was Rick Santorum.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And then Huckabee.
Yeah.
And then 2096, you know, Bob Dole and George W. Bush. But then before that, 1988, Bob Dole, he won it, but the eventual nominee was George H.W. Bush.
Yeah.
And then H.W. Bush was 1980 winner of Iowa caucus, but then Ronald Reagan was the nominee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like
it doesn't mean shit to a tree.
5 out of 7 times. The last 5 out of 7 times it hasn't worked out.
And they make a big deal out of it. Oh, the Iowa caucus, and it's just like, come on, quit jerking me off, MSNBC. I don't need this.
Who cares about Iowa anyhow?
Well, next week is New Hampshire, and I think that maybe will mean more. You know,
Nikki Haley's tied with Trump in New Hampshire.
Yes.
Right now, tied.
Yes.
They're neck and neck right there.
Well, be good if she could beat him. You know, take away his bragging rights. You know,
They let everybody in on that one.
yeah, but we don't know if he's going to be able to campaign for it because he may have court dates. You know?
Yeah, he was complaining about how he couldn't go to a funeral today.
Problem is, he didn't have to be in court. He could have gone to the funeral.
He didn't have to go there because you know.
Oh no, but I wouldn't miss my court date for anything.
His guilt is already.
I'm just going to sit here and make a big deal out of it. That's all.
His guilt has already been assumed. You know, it's just a matter of what the amount of money is he's going to have to pay to E. Jean Carroll or whatever her name is. And you know that he's you know, and again, you know, change your act now and then. He suddenly goes after the judge.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, come on. Are all judges terrible? You know?
Well, bully's got a bully.
Bullies have to bully. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
True.
You know. But anyway, you know. And of course, the judge who, you know, was in the other trial, the fraud trial, which we're still waiting for the decision on that.
Yeah.
The fraud trial was the guy who just recently charged me another $4,200. So.
Well, he's not getting it out of Trump, so he's got to get it.
Yeah, right. Well, we're not fighting it. We're just going to pay it, and then we're going to turn around and sue the guy for the security deposit, which we can get like 3 times what the security deposit is.
He's got to pay interest on that?
No, it's not interest.
Oh,
It's not interest. There's a rule here that if within 2 weeks after he should give us back our security deposit, he hasn't, and he hasn't met certain criteria. You know, like he didn't complain that there was no reason why he wasn't paying it. He just wasn't paying it, and he kept kicking the can down the road. That if that's the case, there's double damages on top of getting the $4,200 back. So it'll be about $12,000 he'll owe us. And we're going after him. What the hell? Why not?
Good.
You know.
Good. You got nothing else to do.
Well, I have nothing else to do, and I don't
And
want
it's your
to. I don't
money.
want. This guy's ripped us off from the very beginning, and I don't want to let it. I don't. He's gotten away with an awful lot because he was a goddamn basketball player, and the judge was just felt, you know, wonderful about that. Oh, you're that basketball player who was with the Knicks back in blah blah blah. I mean, the guy was only with the Knicks for like 2 years. Okay, and I said to Marjorie, I said, you know, really, if in New York you were to ask people back then about this guy and Alex Bennett, more people knew who I was than knew who this guy was, because he wasn't a very important player for the Knicks. And you know, but he was. I think he was impressed by that. So that was a game advantage for the basketball player. Gee, I should have learned to play basketball. You know, then I could go. Then I could go around ripping people off. You know, so I can say that because I haven't said the name of the guy here. I know you're all looking through the history books to see basketball players in New York.
We already did that one night. I already looked it up.
Tony tried.
I did. Remember we did that night?
Yeah. Did you figure it out?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we found his whole history.
Oh, really? Oh, you
Yeah.
did?
Well, we did it that night maybe it was Saturday night. I don't remember, but we did that night.
Oh, this was maybe on a Saturday night when nobody was listening to it. Yeah. No, and the history was it was like about 2 years as a Nick.
Yeah,
and he went over to
he was on a couple other teams too.
Yeah, and then he went to Europe to play.
Yeah,
that's where you go when you can't be successful here.
Exactly.
You know, so. And meanwhile, I was on the air here on radio for how many years? Almost 10 years. You know, so I lasted longer on radio than he lasted at the Knicks.
So Brian, are you going to buy the latest blanket for your battery pack on your Tesla?
No, but you guys are right. Even the McLaren, they have one. It's called P1. It's like a total race car, but it's a hybrid. And there's one that they lost in one of the big floods last year, or a couple of years ago, I guess. And this one guy bought it, and they took the battery pack out of there.
Mm-hmm.
They took all that apart, and there are these round batteries that is in that thing. I don't know how many of those, but they're these round, look like a little canister battery.
Yeah.
And they're soldered together.
When you say their batteries like hooked up in series,
yes,
that's how that thing. Yeah, so it actually is something like that. Hey Alex, when you got your Emmy, what is that regular Emmy? I mean, was that like in the was that one just like they just, oh, by the way, here you got this, or was this a ceremony, or
yeah,
what?
it was a ceremony. Oh yeah.
Oh really?
In San Francisco. Yeah, they're smaller Emmys. They're about half the size of the ones that you see on the awards show for national. but it's an Emmy nonetheless.
Mm.
There, how it was voted upon was all the people who say were contestants or in the San Francisco Bay Area. It wasn't voted by anybody in the Bay Area. It was sent up to, I think in that case, like Oregon or someplace like that, to up there, and then they had the people up there listen to all the programs and vote on them.
Oh,
so
really?
so they, it wasn't like Alex Bennett's really popular in San Francisco, but that doesn't mean shit to a tree in the Emmys, in those local Emmys, because they do the local Emmy by sending the voting to somewhere else. So that if somebody's really popular,
they're not biased. Yeah,
it's not based on popularity. Okay. So I felt good about winning those, especially the one I won for an information show. I was very proud of winning that one. The sports one, I did that with a lot of other people. I mean, I joke about it being a sports Emmy, which it is, but I did it with a bunch of other people. The program itself that we were on won the Emmy, so every one of us got an Emmy for doing that show.
Awesome.
But meanwhile, I watched the Emmys this year, and what a boring goddamn show that was,
Yeah, I recorded it, and I started going through it, and I couldn't. And then I also did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I started going through that. That was really entertaining.
That was entertaining?
Yeah, because they always had, they have like somebody out there, and they have some people singing their songs and stuff like that. So it's cool.
Yeah. Was Paul Schaefer running the orchestra?
I don't remember. They had the Spinners were inducted, Shaka Khan, Willie Nelson. It was good. It's a good group.
Isn't that pronounced Shaka Khan? Shaka Khan?
Shaka Khan, yeah.
Oh man, I'm telling you that. But it got the lowest ratings of any Emmy Awards show in history, because it was opposite the Iowa elections, and it was opposite. There was one other thing. There was there some sports event?
Oh, Monday night?
Mm-hmm.
It was Monday night, yeah.
Yeah, it was the
two
finale of the Eagles season.
Oh, okay.
Also, I understand Texas is not going to the Super Bowl either.
I'm gonna laugh so hard if the Niners lose.
Oh no, they're gonna win.
I ain't saying
Wait a minute. Who's going to the Super Bowl?
The first round of the playoffs, the San Francisco was number one, so they get one bye, so they don't have to play. So all the other real teams had to, tough it out.
You don't know who's going to the Super Bowl yet?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Playoffs for.
But there's one meme. There's a guy. Oh, Kevin left. There's one meme. There's a guy. He's not saying anything. There's one guy, and he's really serious, and he says, no, he says, this is done months ago, but he says, yeah, you know what? Dak Prescott, he's the quarterback. That's the guy who throws the ball. Okay, he says he can actually take the team to the Super Bowl. And then he started going, travel, tickets, and how many people in his pay is he? He could take the Dallas Cowboys to the Super Bowl.
Oh, boy. Well, I wish I could get the joke. But
San Francisco's still in the running.
The joke is the Cowboys every year go to the playoffs and lose in the first round.
Really?
That's what the joke is.
There's a cycle.
Well, don't.
It's fun.
I'll tell you just quickly. Don't ever put down a losing team, because the Mets here in New York, when they first started, lost every year. They were a team, and they had a gigantic amount of people going to every game, because everybody wanted to root for a loser. They always wanted to have hope and dreams and so on. And finally, they won the World Series. They took the pennant and won the series, and nobody turned out for the games any longer. So maybe it's better if you keep losing. Trump
like
is
the Cubs.
Yeah, well, Trump is proving that, Anyway, hey, listen, we got to go here. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you, Brian. A very fun couple hours here, or an hour, or whatever it was. It was an hour. And thank you for all being here. Would you all wave goodbye, and I'll wave goodbye at you. There they go, ladies and gentlemen. Mm-hmm. And I'm going as well. You've got, let's see here. Amy Manuel is next. She's here with The Intersection. A fine show. She's really entertaining. And the show is entertaining, and I'm very happy that she's been doing it lately because she just really surprised the hell out of me, and I'm glad about it. And I just congratulate her for doing an excellent, excellent show. Anyway, she's next. She'll take your calls at, let's see here, at Gabnet Live on Skype. All right? I'll see you again tomorrow night. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening.